For 6 long seasons at Paris Saint-Germain, Neymar tried to make the partnership work. He welcomed young Mbappé into his home. He promised him he would conquer world football. He literally called the kid family. Then came January 2025. On a Brazilian podcast, Neymar finally spilled what nobody at PSG had the guts to say out loud. So what exactly did he see in Mbappé that Real Madrid completely ignored? And why does that warning now sound like a script for Madrid's worst football slump in 10 years? To get the warning, you have to understand the actual friendship. Before the cracks showed, there was genuine warmth. The kind of Bond fans turned into phone wallpapers. Picture it. 2017. Mbappé is just 18 years old. He just became the second most expensive transfer in history, trailing only the guy waiting inside the dressing room. He arrives in Paris terrified, hungry, and totally starstruck. Neymar basically takes the young forward right under his wing. He invites the kid over. They sit around playing video games together. He coaches him on pressure, handling the ruthless media, and the heavy crown of being a number 10 in a sport that treats strikers like absolute royalty. Neymar even nicknames him Golden Boy. He says it with real love. He truly means it. Years later, Neymar would confess something highly specific to Brazilian legend Romario. He stated, and I quote directly here, that he played alongside Mbappé, brought him home, and reminded him constantly that he was destined to be world class. He said he tried to back him up. He said he tried to mentor him. He sounded just like a tired older brother talking about it. And honestly, early on, the chemistry worked. Those two, paired with Edinson Cavani, swept up French league titles and cups. They completely dismantled weaker teams with borderline cruel tactics. But domestic trophies were not the goal. They never were. Paris Saint-Germain spent a massive Qatari fortune chasing one single prize, the UEFA Champions League. Yet, aside from one magical run, every single spring, like absolute clockwork, European glory slipped through their fingers. It happened so often it stopped feeling like bad luck and started feeling like a permanent curse. Even so, in those early days, Neymar and Mbappé felt like football's future. Posing for cameras, joking on the bench. They linked up for goals so filthy they should have been illegal. It was, for a fleeting moment, the ultimate dream. And looking back, the calm before the storm, because deep inside that brilliant partnership, a silent, patient question was brewing. The kind of question that explodes. Whose club was this anyway? August 2021. The world is still half locked down. Lionel Messi is sobbing into a tissue at a Camp Nou press conference. Barcelona, ruined by their own accountants, simply cannot afford the greatest player they ever built. Within 48 hours, he touches down in Paris. On paper, this was supposed to be a celebration. The big three: Messi, Neymar, Mbappé. 3 of the greatest forwards alive sharing one pitch. The PSG marketing team probably needed a literal defibrillator. But here is where Neymar's version takes a very sharp turn. Because if you ask him, Mbappé did not react the way a young superstar usually reacts when Lionel Messi enters the room. In that exact Romario interview, Neymar dropped a massive bombshell that, when you really think about it, is absolutely wild. He claimed Mbappé got jealous when Messi arrived. He delivered it with that tight half smile you use when you are desperately trying not to make a disaster sound worse than it is. Then he delivered the kill shot. He claimed Mbappé simply refused to share him with anybody else. Just let that sink in. The priciest teenager in football history, 22 at the time, a kid who literally grew up with Cristiano Ronaldo posters on his bedroom wall, was apparently furious about sharing space with the greatest player of all time. Here is where the locker room drama gets messy. Neymar said that is when the war started. Mbappé's entire attitude shifted. He held back the exact details on the podcast. He honestly did not need them. Anyone watching PSG play those 2 seasons saw the tension, the awful body language, the selfish passing, the dirty looks whenever a teammate made a minor mistake. The ugliest moment hit in September 2021. Broadcast cameras caught a freshly substituted Mbappé on the bench, calling Neymar a literal bum, absolutely raging because he had not received a pass. That clash bled right into the dressing room later, forcing the manager to break them up. This was not some tabloid rumor. It was caught dead on film. Messi, well into his 30s by then, just absorbed the drama like a pure veteran with a shrug, a smirk, and zero interest in playing locker room politics. But that old harmony Neymar talked about, the big brother vibe with his former golden boy, had vanished entirely. It got replaced by something ice cold and heavily hierarchical. The squad featured 3 mega stars: but it became blatantly obvious that one of them absolutely refused to share the spotlight anymore. He needed to be the main guy, the literal sun that all the other players just orbited around. And in modern football, when an elite striker wants that kind of power, reality usually bends until he either gets it or it destroys him. Sometimes both happen. By the 2022 to 2023 season, the PSG power struggle turned pure theatre. The club handed him a shocking level of total control. Veto power over major transfers, control of the whole sporting project, and allegedly a loud voice in exactly who got signed and who got dumped. The label floating around the French sports media was not exactly subtle. They stopped calling him the captain and started calling him the boss. The actual boss. That is a massive difference. And deep inside that dressing room, sources swore those old tiny cracks were not just cracks anymore. They were giant canyons. In his big sit-down with Romario, Neymar finally laid it all out clearly. The host asked him why PSG failed, the most lethal attacking trio ever built, the priciest football squad on earth. Yet they still choked against Real Madrid in the round of 16. It was barely competitive. Neymar's reply was one single word, repeated for heavy emphasis: ego, ego. He broke it down with the calm of a guy who had been sitting on this for years. A big ego? That is totally fine, he said. Even essential. Every elite footballer believes they are the absolute best. It comes with the territory. But you also have to realize you cannot win a match by yourself. In the modern game, he warned, if every single guy refuses to track back and run, winning major trophies becomes completely impossible. Now, on paper, Neymar never actually dropped Mbappe's name right there. He really did not need to. He just spent the last 5 minutes breaking down exactly how Mbappe's whole attitude changed, exactly how jealous the French star got when Messi touched down, how the locker room clashes began. Then he flipped straight to ego, tearing Paris Saint-Germain apart. You do not need a decoder ring for that message. The Spanish press definitely got it. Cadena Ser, one of the heaviest hitters in Spanish sports media, dropped a headline framing it as Neymar's direct warning to Real Madrid about Mbappe, as immediately ran with it. Madrid sports radio spent days chewing on the quote. By the time the drama finished its first lap across European football, the narrative was locked in. Neymar was not just venting about a former teammate, he was handing the Madrid board a red flag. He basically said, look, the kid is a genius. But if you build the entire squad around him, if you let his brand outgrow your badge, you are going to crash exactly like we did. Empty-handed, when the major knockouts arrive, forced to watch another captain lift the silverware meant for you. It was a shockingly generous heads up. Real Madrid naturally handled it like any massive club hearing advice from the outside. They smiled politely and threw it in the trash. Come the summer of 2024, Los Blancos finally secured their superstar. Mbappe landed on a blockbuster free transfer, flashing a smile in that iconic white kit, posing outside the Bernabéu like returning royalty. Florentino Perez had chased this exact signature for the better part of 10 years. A total obsession, the kind of hunt that turns hair grey. On paper, the lineup looked unstoppable. Mbappe joining Vinicius Jr., Jude Bellingham, and Rodrigo. 4 elite forwards under 27, built for absolute devastation on the counter. Spanish media immediately dubbed them the New Galacticos. Pumping it up big, because subtle restraint is not exactly a Madrid press tradition. Yet beneath all that parade confetti, one massive question lingered that nobody in the capital dared whisper. Vinicius just spent an entire campaign operating as the best footballer alive, not named Rodri. He physically dragged them to a Champions League crown. He was, without a doubt, the true face of modern Real Madrid. And Mbappe, judging by his entire career path, did not fly to Spain to play backup dancer. Neymar's interview from a few months back warned of this exact collision. He basically said the issue with Mbappe is not his ability. The real issue is what happens when he is forced to share the spotlight. Can he sprint to set up a teammate's goal without his own ego getting hurt? Those first 6 months in Madrid did not exactly scream yes. Mbappe found the net, obviously. Generational talents always do. But the goals mostly arrived in brief flashes. His overall rhythm on the pitch stayed wildly inconsistent. Cadena Ser phrased it kindly, saying the Madrid fanbase was still waiting for the world-class phenomenon they actually paid so much to see. Translated from polite press talk into blunt reality, he simply had not justified the hype yet. Then, on January 21st, 2025, right before a Champions League clash with Salzburg, reporters asked Mbappé point-blank about Neymar's warning. He had been given a few days to script a reply, and his response was an absolute masterclass in giving them nothing. He replied, "Neymar's words? I have absolutely nothing to say about that. My focus is entirely on my work here at Real Madrid. I hold a lot of respect for Neymar." He threw in, just to be safe, that he would rather focus on the positive memories of his old teammate. Wishing Neymar and his family the best, pure PR diplomacy, highly professional. And depending on your angle, it was either deeply mature or incredibly revealing. Because a star who actually thinks the criticism is garbage will usually tell you outright. Mbappé chose not to. He just tiptoed right past it, like a guy dodging shattered glass scattered across his own kitchen tiles. Here is where the narrative shifts away from Neymar's grudge and turns into raw consequence. Because heavy warnings, especially the accurate ones, tend to slowly manifest into self-fulfilling prophecies over time. In the fallout of Neymar's explosive interview, every tiny slip-up at the Bernabéu was viewed through that exact lens. Did Mbappé lay off the ball when he needed to? Did he hustle back on defense when possession flipped? Did he ever genuinely look like a guy who realized the entire stadium was not spinning just for him? Vinicius Jr., to his credit, just kept his head down, kept grinding. But that lethal chemistry that minted him as the Globe's top winger last season, it suddenly felt gone. He wandered straight into Mbappe's zones. Mbappé crashed into his. One August 2024 fixture summed it up. Relevo noted the two stars linked up for just 3 successful passes over 85 minutes. The squad that looked completely electric just a year prior suddenly felt, in certain moments, like a rock band with 2 frontmen wrestling over a single microphone. Jude Bellingham, their midfield engine, watched his goal production plummet. A bit of that was purely tactical, but mostly the oxygen up in that attacking third had just become incredibly difficult to breathe. There are only so many touches to go around, only so many highlights, and their massive new signing expected every single one. Carlo Ancelotti, a manager who has handled more superstar egos than most of us have had hot dinners, tried his best to fix it. He tweaked formations, he held quiet talks. He smiled that classic Ancelotti smile. The quiet grin of a man who has already watched this exact movie and knows exactly how the script ends. And remember, the whole time this drama was unfolding, Neymar's interview was sitting right there on YouTube. The warning was clear. The ego. You simply cannot play this game alone. It is honestly hard to explain just how weird this stretch of modern football was. You are looking at the most expensive soccer squad on the planet, the reigning kings of Europe, a team packing maybe the heaviest attacking talent ever seen at the Bernabéu, and their biggest headline all season? Just vibes. Were the vibes good? Could the locker room be saved? Or was the shiny new star completely killing the mood? Real Madrid actually got a warning about this culture shift from a guy who shared a locker room with Kylian Mbappé for 6 straight years. But the club filed that warning away like all European giants do, shoved right into the drawer labelled, "He is just bitter." The universe, of course, took notes and started writing the rest of the drama. So why was Neymar actually right? And why was he the only one to spot the crash coming? Because he used to be Mbappé, or at least close enough that the difference hardly matters. Neymar rolled up to Barcelona in 2013 as the golden chosen successor, the next true Brazilian icon. The kid destined to take Messi's crown. For 3 years, he lined up with Messi and Suarez in the deadliest attack of the 21st century, winning absolutely everything. Then, creeping in slowly, the reality hit him. He was never going to be the main character at Barca. Not really. Not while Lionel Messi was still lacing up boots. So he packed up and went to Paris. A club that built a massive blank check football project entirely around his ego. And honestly, it worked. Until Mbappé showed up, forcing the whole French project to rewrite its script mid-season. By the time Messi reunited with them in 2021, Neymar had spent his whole playing career as either the sidekick or the guy sharing the spotlight. He understood that feeling. He knew exactly what it did to a striker's pride. Watching Mbappé treat Messi's arrival like a jealous younger brother meeting the new baby, Neymar caught on fast. He didn't need a sports psychologist to read that tense body language. He had been right there in those shoes. He felt that exact same jealousy burn during his younger days. The big difference? Neymar eventually outgrew it. or at least he figured out how to hide it long enough to win massive football matches. What Neymar got that the boardroom suits in Madrid totally missed is that you cannot build a winning culture around a player whose ego is still baking. Sure, you can build a flashy marketing campaign. You can sell 1 billion jerseys easily. But you cannot win the hardest tournament in soccer with a dressing room ruled by a hierarchy that nobody actually voted for. The toughest part of that interview, if you watch the tape, is not the quote about ego. It is the pure resignation. Neymar doesn't even sound angry bringing it up. He speaks like a guy explaining how a fire burned down a house he already moved out of. He gains 0 from lying. And honestly, he gains nothing by being right. For maybe the first time in his career, he is dropping the raw, unfiltered truth about something he witnessed firsthand. That is exactly why this warning feels so rare. Footballers never speak this bluntly about old teammates, especially the guys who are still playing at an absolute elite level. Neymar took the leap anyway. He stared at the richest club in the sport and practically whispered, "You are about to learn a brutal lesson. Real Madrid will likely win titles." They almost always find a way. The massive institutional gravity of that badge, the raw talent on the pitch, the coaching genius on the bench. True failure is practically impossible. Mbappé will definitely score his goals. He will produce magic. He might even hoist that Champions League trophy someday. But that is not what Neymar was cautioning them about. He flagged something much quieter. He was warning them about a slow, silent decay. A squad stacked with superstars that somehow falls short of what it could have become. A locker room that wins matches despite its toxic energy, not because of team spirit. A trophy cabinet that 10 years later looks mighty light for that insane price tag. Real Madrid obviously has walked this road before. They made it through the Galacticos era. They survived the moody Cristiano Ronaldo years. They balanced the Bale, Benzema and Cristiano triangle, a trio everyone claimed would crash and burn, yet somehow rattled off 3 straight Champions League titles. They are absolute masters at juggling impossible egos. Honestly, it is the true superpower of this massive institution. But every single Real Madrid era faces a breaking point. A harsh moment where the expensive foreign star either bows to the badge or turns into a massive problem to eliminate. That iconic white shirt is not just a costume, it is a binding contract. And the terms of that deal are rarely printed on paper. Mbappé will absolutely hit his own breaking point. Maybe he is there right now. Maybe it is fast approaching, and when that explosion finally happens, somewhere in Sao Paulo or Riyadh, an old teammate will be watching it unfold on a big television screen. He will think back to the kid who used to crash on his couch playing FIFA. He will remember that old heavy nickname, the Golden Boy, and with the slightly bitter, quiet smile of a man who genuinely tried to warn everyone, he will whisper just one sentence: "I told you so." The universe, still taking notes, will simply nod.